Hi everybody. Today we are going to learn about the relative pronouns. These pronouns are very important. They are responsible for a good organization, for a good writing. Okay, so we are going to talk about who, which, that, and whose. In this class, we're going to learn some relative pronouns and their functions in English is the same of their function in Portuguese. So, what do you have to pay attention? You have to pay attention to who or what these relative pronouns refer to. Let's talk about who. See some examples. Letter A, but a third of humanity who live in South Asia. B, for many of the older generation who can remember a time when everyone lived in cities with few cars. Did you notice that the relative pronoun who refer to people? Go to the example number 1, to the example letter A, and see that who is referring to a third of humanity. And in the second example, letter B, it's referring to older generation. So people, we can conclude that who is used to refer to people. Now let's compare with the relative pronoun which. Observe. Letter A, in 1950, the global population was 2.6 billion people. We had 53 million cars, which works out to be one car for every 50 persons. Letter B, his apartment, which is very old, needs some repair. Did you see? In these examples above, which doesn't refer to people. We can say so that which is used to everything except people. We can use which to talk about ideas, to talk about objects, to talk about animals. So just memorize this. We don't use which with people. In the first example, the relative which is referring to the fact presented in the clause before. We had 53 million cars, and in the second example, it's referring to his apartment. Notice that which was used in sentences that can be easily taken from the whole text. We can say that they are optional clauses, optional sentences. And how do we know these? They come between commas. They are accessories. This is very important to understand the next pronoun. Let's talk about that. Letter A, creating a need for big power plants that may only operate for a few days each year. Here in this example, that is referring to power plants. Letter B, he is the man that I saw buying unnecessary items. That is referring to the man. So, can you see the difference? We use who for people, we use which for things, objects, ideas, animals, never for people. And that we use for both. We can use that for people, we can use that for animals, we can use that for ideas. What's the difference between that and which? We use which between commas in optional sentences, and that is never between commas, okay? And now the last one. This one is different from the others because it's going to indicate possession. Letter A, think of the possibilities of a city whose energy systems use waste as a resource. Letter B, that's the neighborhood whose offices are able to heat and cool themselves with minimal energy. The relative pronoun whose is used to talk about possession, so that can't substitute whose. Okay, we can substitute who and which by that, but we never substitute whose for any of them because the idea they express is totally different. I know it can be a little confusing, so I prepared some exercises. Let's practice. Number one, many of the things we use contain some form of chemicals. Things. We are not talking about people. So we eliminate letter A and letter C. What do we have? Which. Many of the things which we use contain some form of chemicals. Number two, every one of the 80 people rated the product had given it 1 star. Here we are talking about people. We eliminate letter B and we eliminate letter A because it doesn't talk about possession. We have a verb, rated. So we use who. Every one of the 80 people who rated the product had given it 1 star. Letter number 3. Use organic products instead of products release harmful chemicals into the environment. Here we are talking about products. We are not talking about people. We have to use which. Use organic products instead of products which release harmful chemicals into the environment. Number 4. Paul lost his job last week, is trying to find another one. In this case, we use who because it's before a verb, lost. Remember, this is an optional sentence, so in this case we can't substitute which or who for that. We have to use who in this case here. Paul, who lost his job last week, is trying to find another one. And number 5, that's the woman, husband, launched the foundation Climate Justice. Let's think about. We have woman and husband. We don't have verbs in here. So the only possibility is whose that indicates possession. That's the woman whose husband launched the foundation Climate Justice. This is a very good tip for you people. We always use whose between two nouns. Woman whose husband, the parents whose children, the teachers whose students. As you can see, it can be a little confusing, but it's very important to understand the usage of relative pronouns. They are going to guarantee a good writing, a good text, a good organization. Okay? So, if you have any doubts, you can count on me on WhatsApp by sending emails. Bye bye, see you.